The entire royal room changed the second Prince William opened that cream-colored jeweler's file. Because this was not just a dispute over pearls, not just another private disagreement buried inside palace walls, and not just Camilla defending access to another historic piece. This was the moment William allegedly placed proof in front of King Charles and watched Camilla's version collapse page by page, number by number, mark by mark, until the Queen herself physically gave way before she could rescue the story. One folder, 2 documents, one young princess's name, and suddenly, the palace was facing the unthinkable question. Had Princess Charlotte's inheritance been quietly pushed towards someone else while everyone assumed the system was protecting her? It began inside what was described as a private family review, but nothing about that room felt ordinary once the guest list became clear. This was not a cozy family conversation. This was not tea, sympathy, and polite clarification. Around the table sat King Charles, Camilla, William, Catherine, and 2 senior custodians whose entire responsibility was knowing where every historic royal object belonged. Their presence was the first clue. Custodians are not summoned for family feelings. They are summoned when provenance is under pressure, when ownership is disputed, when the palace needs records stronger than memory and witnesses stronger than loyalty. William arrived almost silently, and that silence was its own accusation. He did not storm in. He did not perform outrage. He carried the cream-colored jeweler's file like a man who knew the evidence would speak louder than any insult. Then he opened the certification and turned it toward Charles. The sentence inside changed everything. The pearl set had never belonged to Camilla. Not temporarily, not unofficially, not by quiet palace understanding. It had been formally designated for Princess Charlotte through a documented family inheritance instruction. That meant Charlotte was not a convenient future possibility. She was the named recipient. Camilla's first defense came fast, almost too fast. She laughed and called it an administrative mistake, as though the entire threat could be reduced to a clerical slip, a misfiled page. A careless notation buried inside palace bureaucracy. But William had clearly prepared for that escape route. He did not argue. He simply removed a second page and placed it beside the first. The numbers matched. The jeweler's marks matched. The inventory references aligned perfectly. Suddenly, Camilla was no longer fighting one document. She was facing 2 separate sources telling the same story, and the mistake explanation began looking less like confusion and more like a collapsing shield. Charles read the final paragraph once, then again, and that was when the power in the room shifted. Camilla stopped watching William and started watching her husband. Because Charles was no longer dismissing the evidence. He was absorbing it. His fingers slowed. The page lowered. No immediate defense came. For Camilla, that silence may have been more dangerous than William's accusation, because the king's hesitation revealed something terrifying. He was considering that the proof might be real. Then, William revealed the deeper problem. The provenance file contained a handwritten cross-reference connecting the pearls to an older royal inventory created before Charlotte was even born. Someone had later updated that historic record and deliberately attached Charlotte's name to the set. That was not accidental. That was not casual. That was not a vague storage note. It meant someone inside the royal system had made a conscious decision that these pearls were to pass to Charlotte. And once that decision existed in more than one place, Camilla's claim that she had not understood became harder to believe. That was the moment Camilla rose too quickly. Her face changed. Her hand reached for the table, but missed. And then she collapsed back against the chair as though the room itself had vanished beneath her. Charles moved toward her. Catherine froze. William stopped speaking. The entire confrontation, so controlled seconds earlier, suddenly turned physical, emotional, impossible to hide. And then one custodian broke the silence with a sentence that made the collapse even more explosive. The jeweler's file was only the beginning. Another document existed, and that page explained why Charlotte had been chosen. That detail transformed everything. If another document explained why Charlotte was selected, then the pearl set was not randomly assigned. It was not available for quiet reinterpretation. It carried a reason, a written purpose, a family intention strong enough to be preserved. Camilla was not just being told she could not use the pearls. She was being told they had been deliberately protected for a child, and that the reason behind that protection was about to come into the open. The real trail began months earlier, after a palace jewelry review ended late. Aides left. Camilla remained behind with a senior wardrobe official and one handwritten inventory sheet. She asked that the pearl set be moved from long-term family reserve into her personal ceremonial rotation before the next state occasion. On the surface, it sounded routine. Royal jewels are checked, maintained, insured, stored, borrowed, worn, and returned. Camilla had worn historic pieces before. Nothing about the request immediately screamed scandal. But then, the wardrobe official noticed Charlotte's initials beside the inventory number. That tiny notation became the first crack in the entire story. The official hesitated and asked whether extra authorization might be needed. Camilla looked at the sheet, paused, and said the matter would be clarified internally. No shouting followed, no open accusation erupted. But the silence after that exchange felt wrong. Later that evening, the official returned to the record, copied the inventory number, and privately contacted the jewelers responsible for maintaining historic royal pieces. The jewelers matched the number to the exact pearl set. Their archived records matched the inheritance notation. Then came the sealed family instruction naming Princess Charlotte as the eventual recipient. Now the chain was complete. Charlotte's initials, jeweler confirmation, sealed family instruction. 3 separate points. 1 conclusion. And Camilla's request had already continued. That was why William's question hit so hard in the meeting. If Charlotte's name had already been noticed, why had the pearls still been pushed toward Camilla's ceremonial collection? Charles tried to stop emotion from consuming the room, warning that family disputes over historic possessions could become destructive when fury replaced procedure. But even the king could not neutralize the personal wound. William was no longer speaking only as heir. He was speaking as Charlotte's father. He said he could accept confusion over a code, even a misunderstanding over inventory language. What he could not accept was continuation after Charlotte's initials had been seen. Camilla snapped back that she had never tried to steal from a child, accusing William of turning a household request into family humiliation. She looked toward Charles, expecting protection. But William placed one final photocopy beside her hand. She refused to touch it. The notation was dated. The wardrobe official had recorded that Camilla was specifically warned Charlotte's initials appeared before the request continued. Catherine finally asked the quiet question no one could escape. If the warning had already been given, why did the request go forward? Camilla opened her mouth, then stopped. Charles looked from the document to his wife, and in that silence, the next battle began. Charles ended the confrontation before another word could deepen the fracture, but everyone understood the meeting had reached a point of no return. He gathered the cream-colored file himself and announced that no final judgment would be made until he personally reviewed every original document without interruption. That decision satisfied nobody. Camilla believed her husband would eventually defend her position once emotions settled. William believed the evidence had already answered every question. Yet the king chose isolation over immediate resolution, carrying the file into a private room where neither loyalty nor family pressure could influence what the pages revealed. Behind that closed door, Charles faced a decision capable of damaging either his marriage or his granddaughter's future. Alone with the paperwork, Charles slowly discovered that the inheritance instruction was even stronger than William had suggested. The document stated that the pearl set could not be permanently reassigned outside Princess Charlotte's designated family line without written approval from her guardians while she remained a minor. The language was direct, leaving almost no room for interpretation. Then, another page raised the stakes even further. A separate household request carrying Camilla's reference had attempted to move the pearls into a category that would have provided her with routine ceremonial access. She could still argue she never sought permanent ownership, but the paperwork showed the request had advanced far enough to weaken the protection surrounding Charlotte's future inheritance. When Charles finally summoned Camilla into the room, she reportedly understood the outcome before he spoke. The file remained closed between them, but the evidence inside had already dismantled every explanation she intended to offer. Charles informed her that the pearls would immediately be removed from her ceremonial options. Charlotte's inheritance designation would be formally restored, and any future request involving the set would require approval from William and Catherine while Charlotte remained under their guardianship. The earlier household request was canceled without exception. For the first time that day, Camilla did not argue. She quietly removed a handwritten note carrying the pearl's inventory number from her handbag and placed it on the table. Admitting that losing access to the jewelry hurt less than realizing William now believed she had knowingly challenged something promised to Charlotte. Charles refused to soften the conclusion, reminding her that the request should have stopped the moment Charlotte's initials were identified. The consequences spread almost immediately throughout the palace. Charles ordered a wider review of historic jewelry access requests, fearing this dispute had exposed weaknesses in the entire approval system. William later received written confirmation that Charlotte's designation had been fully restored, but instead of celebrating, he simply folded the document and placed it aside. Catherine observed that although Charlotte's inheritance had been protected, the family itself remained wounded. She encouraged William to speak privately with Camilla before resentment became permanent. During that meeting, William explained his anger had never truly centered on pearls. What haunted him was imagining Charlotte growing older and asking why something promised to her had almost disappeared, while her own father remained silent. Camilla admitted that she had seen Charlotte's initials, but convinced herself they represented future consideration rather than a binding inheritance instruction. She acknowledged she should have stopped the request and sought clarification instead of allowing it to continue. William accepted the withdrawal, but made no promise that trust could be restored overnight. By the following morning, news of the dispute had reportedly spread beyond palace walls. Public attention focused less on the pearls themselves than on the image of a young princess whose documented inheritance had been defended before she was old enough to protect it herself. Palace communications confirmed only one essential decision: the historic pearl set would remain under Princess Charlotte's designated family inheritance arrangement. Charles strengthened approval procedures for historic jewelry connected to named future recipients, ensuring similar disputes could not develop again. Camilla formally withdrew her earlier request. William accepted that Charlotte's entitlement would no longer be challenged, and Catherine hoped her daughter would one day inherit the pearls without inheriting the bitterness surrounding them. The file was archived, Charlotte's name remained on the official record, and no further challenge was made. Yet one unanswered question continued lingering over Buckingham Palace. If one forgotten inventory notation had uncovered such a dramatic confrontation, how many other historic royal records were still sitting quietly inside palace archives, waiting for someone willing to open the next file?